complications. For every action, there's a reaction. This is the Pen 10. For every strength, there's a weakness. Can one assess the implications of one's actions? Can one be aware of who one is affecting and how? Understanding the implications of change. If one cannot transform oneself, sooner or later, circumstances will arise that demand that one does. Every action and even every thought is a force that goes out. What one puts out will come back. Likewise, what one doesn't put out comes back. So they had the hidden elephant in the room that they were working on different things, but they were both involved in the dreams. But the measurement of the roles was getting twisted, but they still had the great repercussions. So what I want to go through this is just each year was one of the lines. So we're going to go from 1908, March, probably the very beginning of the American trip, till March 09. So this would have been, was it 08 or 09 they went on the trip? No, maybe it was 09 they went on the trip. So we'll just read this line. Off to a slow start. One is tired, there's much to do and choices to be made. One is not inclined to move or make changes. One sits and contemplates, one waits. One hesitates at first, one appears inadequate. If one hesitates too long, nothing will get done. It'll be useful to have a plan. So working on the plan to build up things and to do things, they started working together. So they have the plan, they're working together on their dreams. But it's like, it would be like a hot coal and an ice cube deciding we're going to work together to build something. One grabs a coffee, the second line, this is when they were traveling together to the States, March 03 to the spring of 1910. So one grabs a coffee, rushes out the door. Something won't be forgotten. You'll have to do without and improvise. Leave your worries at home, put on a happy face. So they did. They went to America. They got into the American lifestyle. They're living the lifestyle, leaving their marriages and stuff at home, and they're out and they're lecturing, and they're on the trip, each enjoying it in their own way. But at the same time, Jung was cautious, somewhat cautious that he had to be aligned to Freud's teaching somewhat during the lecturing. Feeling insignificant, one cannot help oneself. One is sensitive to the power of others. One must direct the energy and resources to help those with a greater need. So in terms of psychotherapy, that's good. The power of others to teach people in America, to get people to practice teachings, that's good. To go with someone who's not 100% supportive and not really a good example. It was interesting, he got people talking, but he was taking them on tangents or into slightly different takes. That was a puzzle within this. One steps with confidence and speaks with extra emphasis. One's activities will increase, one's patience will not. So as the stronger Freud gets for putting out his things, the more deviant Jung would appear. Or the more he would appear to not be going into mystical things or spacing out or not following the structure. So this was combined through their trip. In the third place, it's going from 2010, just after the trip, to 2011 till the spring of 2011. Whistle while you work. A good attitude will have a magical effect. Increased momentum, increased accomplishment. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. People gather in good cheer. Much will be accomplished. So people were gathering. He was going on with his work. With firm resolve, one does everything that is needed. One is helpful to others. Good fortune. Seemingly good, but at the same time, Jung wasn't holding to it. It was promoting his things more and more, or half and half. I just want to go forward to the last part. Then by 2011 till 2012, this is kind of the trust, I call it the trust eroding period, but really leading up to building on, it goes into the line 4. Okay, so let's go here. These books, these are my interpretation of the I Ching. It's called The Sequence of Change. You can only get them from me. It's a digital book. It's big, it's a lot, but it has all the information within it, and you can get it from my web store, iastrostore.com, or you can get it from the school, the RASA.ws, and go into the store in there and click on it. It'll take you into it. But in there, you'll see the I Ching books will be in there, so you can get access to these interpretations. These were really written so that they were for sequentially and for astrological value, whereas the divination ones had more extremes and were written for more dramatic effect within a divination. Okay, in the fourth, one eats on the run. It would be wiser to pause. One forgets what needs to be said. Someone will be inconvenienced. This is the beginning of this is what he's going through in this period after they've come back from the trip, and the trust between them is eroding. The team will succeed where the individual will not. Progress will come by consensus. So this is the trick. Progress to come by consensus when his judgment, strong fixed judgment, is that this is what psychotherapy is. This is what analysis is. It doesn't include going into the psychic and the occult. So there wasn't a consensus. He saw progress as being something that aligning with me, aligning with my thinking, not dissipating it. In the end, both were kind of true. Strong words, loud laughter. One does not listen to one's partner. Misfortune. That's kind of says it all. The trust was eroding, and at the end of this, it went into line 6, which was line 5, where the relationship ended. Line 5. I mean, these are unrelated things relating to each other from the zodiac to the degrees. We're taking a chart, we're looking and reading into it, and it's pretty close to giving advice or presenting puzzles that you have to deal with, which are useful depending on the degree of sensitivity that you're working with someone. Normally, you wouldn't get this far with a chart because you get to maybe get to one planet and something's happened, and you see the progression, and then you can integrate these things. But if you're going to do psychotherapy or therapy from a chart, which really is the therapy, you would probably have to start and have one session a month or 2 sessions a month for a year, and do one planet at a time or do different levels until you built the whole thing up properly. And then the whole picture would come in. So we're doing this all fast as a story. So when they split up, he ended the relationship with Jung, and then Jung ended it with him, they both ended it. Freud was ending the personal relationships and not contacting personally. He didn't say anything about the professional, but Jung published his book and went a different way professionally, and that so the one step and the other step, they all came within this one line 5. One gets the job done and even helps someone else. The extra effort will pay off. If there's anything more to do, do it now. Spontaneous initiative will inspire enthusiasm. Overcome inertia. Even great obstacles can be overcome. One leads with confidence and aim and good cheer. One backs up words with action. A good example is set. Much can be accomplished. Good fortune. So it's funny, it ended under this. It's a good thing it ended. It allowed each of them to go on without being nagged by the other, without being less than what the other believed in. Right? So it's in terms of getting the job done, Freud realized Jung is not going to be there. We've got to end this. It's not working. And that allowed him to make decisions for himself, which worked better for him. Jung had to go on and lose his living in the shadow of Freud and the codependency with Freud and riding his coattails. And he ended up having 4 or 5 years of real deep reevaluation of losing the dependency and I have to do it myself. Something he hadn't done because he succeeded by his wife and by his connection to Freud. So he had to regroup and push the things himself. And that took him through 4 or 5 years of real reevaluation, but it really pushed him stronger on his own thing. So, and he did have his wife to support him. So it was like there was another side to it. But this was the ending of it. When I go to the last time they saw each other, this was in line 6 of Preponderance of the Great. So it's this whole idea of thinking of the greatness, how it can affect people, how good this is for everybody, how it will solve things, how it can work with it, and each of them working with tapping the ocean differently. Or coming with a different bucket to the lake. You can relax, be content with what has been done, encourage others, and give rewards. Perspective is gained. One can see what others cannot. One sticks with a team and helps others to understand. One will watch for stragglers. One is grateful and content, and one will listen and enjoy the company of others. There's no need to talk. A simple smile will be sufficient. Well, see, it's funny how this happened. Like, you get more of the story going into the hexagram that's inside this line, and you go into the inner ones where you go deep. Oh, there's a puzzle here because it seems to be really positive, when really it was his last encounter. They're both at a conference. They're both working. They're seemingly relaxed. They finished the relationship. There's no big thing. So Freud just goes in to listen to Jung's talk. And Jung's talk so specifically is against what Freud believed, and it brought everything up to the surface that he got emotionally overwhelmed and lost it, passed out. I don't think passed out is the right term. I think he just got emotionally overcharged with the implications of everything, and it went beyond his immediate rationale. But that, you see that as a blossom, but in seeing that, he's realizing how far apart they were, and how alone he was, and how wrong he was, and how it changed. So it's interesting that the hexagram within this is Sagittarian hexagram. Inside the pentan is Sagittarius. Hexagram inside of that is contemplation view. So he's got this preponderance of the great. He's got a certain view, and he looks around, and it's not looking so good. You know, and then you could get into the Taurus Gemini hexagrams, and they would go further to the subpentans to further elaborate it. So following it through, you can get much more. You'll see the nerves that come up. We're not going to do this. This is. Oh, no, there's one more thing to say here. Oh yeah. So there was one more thing I wanted to talk. Oh, this was, why do I have Jung's in here? No, this is a mistake. That's not supposed to be there. Okay, we did that last week. Okay, so that's the end of it. This is the end of this interpretation for Freud. It's also the end of our classes. It's been 3 years. We've been doing once a week a session, and I finally gone through from the beginning all the levels to teach all the levels of astrology. And as I do this, this is my personal psychotherapy, going through, re-going over everything and getting it to get up to this level again. And it's wonderful to be at this level, to be able to talk to other people where this has some relevance. And yeah, so thanks for being with me. This is the end of my astrology class. I hope to do some more things with the I Ching and with some music and some other areas within this. But I was thinking today, just as I was starting this, I may add a few other webinars later on at some point, doing it, because these are 2 charts of psychologists. They're not really spiritual people. I think I would like to do 2 or 3 charts of people who became enlightened and let go of their physical, sociological, psychological interactions and went to a more divine point in what caused those changes. So I think it's a missing piece, and I may try and add a couple of these over next year or so. So there's a few examples on the more spiritual sides of this. Okay, thank you.